Horimiya is absolutely amazing, bar none. So this is Leonard here. I'm doing my first ever reaction. Again, new channel and everything. If you're checking this out, definitely like the video, subscribe. Horimiya is amazing. I actually own the first volume of the series. I've had it for a few years now, and I kept telling myself I'm going to read this. Everyone keeps telling me like Horimiya, Horimiya. Some background. I love like romance comedy. I love slice of life. I'm a big fan of like stuff like Origairu, and like Toradora, shows like that. So for me, I've been looking for like a really chill, like slice of life romance type of like an anime or manga to read. So finally, when I saw that Horimiya was coming out of like an anime, I decided, okay, I definitely have to check this out. And I can honestly say that with this being like my first impressions and just watching the show, I love it. I love it. I love the two characters, Hori, and then you have like Miyamura. I love them both. I can already see that there's going to be potentially drama, a lot of like character development, different characters coming in as well, which I'll talk about throughout the course of the review. But just want to give just again my general first impressions, talk through the characters, some of the stuff that happened in the first episode, and kind of like go about it from that standpoint. So, kind of to start, we seen this show. We have our two main leads, our protagonists. So you have Hori, her first name I believe is Kyoko, and then you have Miyamura, first name I think is Izumi. So hopefully I got that. But with Hori specifically, she has this persona, and I'm going to be mentioning this persona and real self throughout the course of the review. But Hiyori has this persona of being kind of like the model student. She gets good grades, everyone thinks that she looks nice, and many times she's leaving school, right after school, after the bell rings, she's not around. So her friends assume that she has a boyfriend. That's a persona that we get for Hori. What we actually end up learning is the fact that her mother's actually very, very busy. It looks like because of work. It seems she's working perhaps all the time almost. So Hori's tasked with really handling a lot of the homemaking responsibilities. She has to pick up her little brother Sota from school. She's running errands. She's cleaning the house. So Hori, much to the surprise of those who may see her from the outside, has a lot of responsibility on her shoulders. So much so, we even seen the episode at one point, I believe, like she's walking back with Sota. She sees the karaoke place. She thinks of her friends. She thinks of the typical high school girl. And part of her just kind of wishes that, she can maybe have that life. It's something that she misses out on, but she carries her responsibilities nonetheless. Now we think about that, and then we contrast that now to Miyamura. So Miyamura comes off in the show. The characters describe him as the following: weird, gloomy, and otaku. Now it seems like the weird and gloomy part actually may be true, but the otaku definitely is not. He's someone who appears that way, a little creepy as well. But really, he lives his life spur of the moment. We learn throughout the course of the episode that he has like all these piercings that he did himself, safety clips apparently. He's tattooed up, so he has a tattoo up to like the shoulder, going all the way down here as well on his side of his body. So he's someone again that he has a certain perception, but in reality, he's very different. His real side is different. So they end up coming together because he finds Sota. Sota got hurt. That's her little brother again. And later on, she uses Sota as the reason to continue to have conversation now with Miyamura and invite him back over. So I don't know if there's a time skip again. I've never seen this before, so fresh reaction. But I don't know if there was like a time skip in the episode. But what we end up seeing is the fact that over time, they're slowly becoming more and more comfortable with each other. You see that he can be himself around Hori, and Hori can be herself around him, which is really, really interesting. Again, they have these personas, but their real selves are able to shine through, and they're able to come and find solace together because of that. And honestly, I thought that was beautiful. I love the dynamic right away in this first episode. Truly enjoyed it. One of my favorite scenes we get to is the supermarket scene, which you take this slice of life and all of a sudden became like this weird, like action, like shonen. Okay, maybe I was like over exaggerating it, but you got like this cool scene where basically Hori wants to go and buy eggs so that they can make omelet rice for dinner. finds out she has like an after school meeting. She's like, oh no, I can't do it. So she's like power texting. I'm like, I've never seen anyone like text that fast before on like a flip phone, especially. But she texts Miyamoto and is just like, hey, pick up these eggs. So he's like rushing. He like goes full transformation mode. And I was just like, yo, Miyamoto basically became Clark Kent. He was Clark Kent. He was Superman for a little bit. So I thought that was funny. He ends up running into, I can't remember her name exactly, but I think her name is Yuki. I think it's Yuki anyway. He runs into her when he's hopping the fence, and Yuki is one of Hori's best friends. So when he's recounting this whole entire thing, where he's just like, "Yeah, I ran into one of your friends, and I was like, my normal self," in terms of like the way he was dressed, all of a sudden you see Hori pauses. And again, another thing I want to bring up in this review is the fact that art is so beautiful for this show, and the way that they have the characters thinking about different stuff. You see the background goes wide, the color palettes. I really love the way they do, where it's just like emotions are coming out and they express it through those colors. And you can see the fact that Hori feels some type of way. She does start to feel jealous. Now, in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're getting a look into her psyche. She's jealous, but she actually says it. And I think that's amazing. I was not expecting that. She was so straightforward, upfront. I love Hori as a character. And it's interesting because Miyamura, when she says that, he's not freaked out. In fact, she ends up like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. And Miyamura is just like, well, I kind of feel the same. I like the fact that I get to see the side of you that no one else gets to see, hear your place, the way that you care for everything. And it's almost like they have their own isolated areas, almost like their own secret, but not really, because they're just being themselves around each other. And again, like I said earlier, they're able to really bond over that. And it's really beautiful. So again, I just love this dynamic between the two of them. Now, episode segues, you get introduced to a new character. I believe his name is Toru. So Toru comes through, and initially I hate Toru. I look at him just like, yo, get this man off my screen. Don't care for him. He's going to bring unnecessary drama. He's pushy. Like, back off. Leave Miyamoto alone. But then that quickly changes, because then all of a sudden you realize like Toru's actually like a decent guy. Toru has a crush on Hori. He was asking these things because he's probably feeling jealous right now. And Miyamoto's shocked to feel like he's like, you actually just exposed yourself having a crush to her to me, like, and they actually bond as a result because the guy was so straightforward. So much so that you end up having to where Miyamura ends up revealing to Toru when they're at gym now the fact that, hey, I have these piercings, hey, I have this tattoo, and that's why I got to know Hori, and she's the only one who knows. And it's kind of funny how Toru reacts. He's just like, oh my gosh. But then this is like, again, Miyamoto felt so comfortable telling Toru, keeping in mind again the fact that only Hori knew the truth about this. So it goes to show again that I think anyway, I could be proven wrong as I watch the show, but Toru seems like a very genuine guy. Miyamoto recognizes it, and they start to form a bond as a result. Now, when they're having this conversation on the rooftop, you start to get a little bit more into Miyamoto's psyche. Again, he comes off as the weird type. He's very self-aware of the way that he looks to others, that he might be seen perhaps as the rebellious type, someone that people may want to stay away from. So when Toru ends up asking, do you like Hori? And Miyamoto's just like, oh, no, I don't. He starts to try and like rationalize, like, oh, no, it's just like, we don't really mesh. We're not really a fit. Again, going based on their personas. Popular girl, he's the weirdo. We don't really fit that well. Likewise, she's just being nice to me. I don't think that Toru actually meant what he said there. And later on in the episode, he says that he doesn't. But I think to some degree, maybe subconsciously, he does think that, it's a little bit weird, like the way that I am. Maybe this is something where it's just like she's just being nice to me. He alluded to that early in the episode as well, the fact that he was shocked that she even wanted to have anything to do with him after learning truly what he's like. So I thought that was interesting. It kind of hurt me the fact that he said that, and that will lead into Hori's response later on as well, because Toru basically decides that he's going to ask out Hori. I was shocked by that, and even before that takes place, you even have it to where Miyamoto says that he doesn't care what happens because at the end of the day, it's Hori's choice. Now, personally, for me, I completely disagree with that. I think that in situations where you like someone or even you don't, both people have a choice. Even if the person has a say, you likewise have to some degree a say in the situation. You have your feelings that can be put out there. So I didn't like the fact that he pushed it on saying it's just Hori's choice. And we see later on that Hori ends up rejecting Toru. And when she confronts Miyamura, in his mind, he's thinking like, okay, I guess this is over. Like she's gonna go out with him and this and that, and it's just like all is over. And I guess I can no longer come here. And she doesn't even talk about any of that. She literally is angry. She's mad because she's like, what's wrong with you? How could you say that we don't mesh together? How could you say I was just being nice? So that's where again Miyamoto tries to walk it back, and he's just like, no, 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 I didn't mean that. And I was just like, Toru, and he likes you, and like at the end of the day, Hori does not care, and she's just like, don't ever say that again, and that hurt me. And she was very upset. And quite frankly, I fully get where she's coming from because how are you going to act like you know what's going through her mind? And again, she does care about you. And I'm sure for all of us here, if you care about someone, you're doing all these things, and then to hear that they think that you're just doing it out of like responsibility, pity, niceness, that hurts. That certainly does hurt. So I'm glad that in the end she got those feelings out. He understood, and then she proceeds to get mad at him. And actually, that's like one of my favorite quotes. I have it like written down somewhere here, but basically, she ends up saying towards like the end, she's like, "If you stop coming over, Miyamoto, who'd wake me up when I fall asleep during a movie or eat popcorn at dinner? I'd have food left over." So I just thought that there was like that was just funny because it goes to show you even just this episode. And again, I haven't read the manga. I saw some comments. It seems like things were skipped over, so maybe more time has gone than we think. But already they developed this bond where they're hanging out, they're getting to know each other. I kind of joked, I was like, just get married already at this point. Once you said that quote, I'm just like, okay, like I know what Endgame is, I think. So just get together. But again, I fully understood where she was coming from, and I like the fact that they came together, they resolved things, and this was just again such a great episode. I wanted to make this a quick review. I ended up rambling for a lot of this and kind of going over, but long story short, I'm really looking forward to watching, reacting, reviewing this series. Even if I don't necessarily do the whole thing on YouTube, just in general for my own personal enjoyment. I'm loving this series. I'm invested. When the anime finishes, I'm definitely jumping into the manga, which I should have done honestly like years ago. So this has been great. I'm curious to see where they're going to go, and again for me thinking about the slice of life genre, which again I have to check the tags again, but I feel like this gives me that type of a vibe. Hori and Miyamoto are going to be obviously the main focuses, but I'm sure based on even the opening, there's a lot of different characters who are going to come into play. And I just tend to like those type of settings where the story feels real. It's like you have all these different characters, and while you're focusing on the two mains, everyone else has very real reactions, real problems, real things they're going through. Like even Toru, all of a sudden, a guy who I couldn't care for, I'm now invested in his story. I'm just like, oh man, Toru got rejected. I'm like, I hope things work out. And hopefully saw the after credits scene where Toru goes over to now what he considers his best boy Miyamoto. He's just like, got rejected. You're so kind, this and that. And it's just like they're becoming best boys, and I love it. So all in all, I'm looking forward to episode 2. This has been great so far. Definitely let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know if there are things that maybe I should be looking for. Please don't spoil it at the same time, but if you're just watching this for the first time, let me know. How do you feel about Hori? How do you feel about Miyamura? How do you feel about this whole thing about their perception to outsiders versus their real selves? And all in all, just looking forward to where the series goes. So, again, this is Leonard. It's been great, and I hope to catch you guys next time. Take care.